Richard Spencer seems like he's gone through quite a bit of a political transformation, or at least there's been some recalibration of ideas since like 2016 when people were really inundated with your content or your message. What's that been like for you? Since I'm sure that there's a lot of people I had conversations about what coming towards this interview where I'm like, he's really not, or at least he doesn't claim to be the version of him that a lot of people kind of remember from a while back.
Yeah, sometimes you need to shatter yourself and pick up the pieces and see how they fit. A lot of it has been organic and and intellectual. A lot of it has been just facing down a lot of battles that I don't think I could win. There was this alt right energy in 2016 and 2017, and we're going to take on the world. We're going to go save the monuments, and Trump is going to be amazing, and all of this kind of stuff. And there certainly there's a tremendous amount of pushback. There's a tremendous amount of violence that can be created by that, and I don't want to be a part of that. I think it's a game you can't really win, and so you shouldn't play. I've also gone through some intellectual development. I think, I mean, some things we can get into, but just to, put little placeholders on them. A critique of populism, I would say, in general. I think populism is going to lead to toxic QAnon cults and J6 almost invariably. I think that's what populism is. And I've also rethought a lot of things geopolitically, particularly with the Ukraine situation. And I generally feel like liberals are a kind of hegemonic entity, and they are the ones who can successfully govern. And you have to kind of confront that. You can't just say no to everything or yell at everyone, be a MTG or something like that. You have to look at what is actually possible in the world. And I think Democrats are much more successful in, again, sustaining and governing the society. So a lot of it's kind of been, in some ways, a kind of Hobbesian bargain and lots of other things. But so a lot of it's been organic. A lot of it has been, facing down battles that aren't winnable and not really ones I want to take part in. And I don't know. You kind of get older. You have different opinions.
Looking back at that former version of yourself, though, are you able to kind of take a different perspective on the younger version of yourself that was somewhat consumed with your white identity and really wanted to embrace these culture wars in a way that it seems like you've kind of stepped back from a
Yeah,
bit?
I
Also, real quick, just on that too. How old are you now, and then how old were you? Yeah, just so I have.
I'm 44
Okay,
now,
okay,
and
gotcha,
I'm 39. So I
gotcha,
can't
gotcha.
claim that I was like 16 when I did all the bad stuff. Or anything. I wish I could. But yeah. Uh, so repeat the question again? Sorry, I got
I
a
mean,
little
I guess
bit.
just looking back at
Looking
that
back,
former
yeah.
version of yourself, how do you feel like you got there? And to a lot of people, there's a simplification of anybody who has the sort of beliefs that you might have, where it's like hatred. You're
Right.
filled with hatred, and even reading through like the worst stuff written about you, it can be kind of hard to find the stuff that really seems like specifically hateful. But clearly, it was something.
Well, yeah. I mean, I when I first got into all of this stuff, I dropped out of Duke excuse me, Duke history department doctoral program in 2007, and I worked for this magazine called The American Conservative, which still exists and is a kind of paleo conservative, anti-war kind of magazine and so on. But I always wanted something different. I was always attracted to edgier ideas. I mean, I've been a Nietzschean really since I was 20 years old and first picked up that book. So I wasn't ever a paleo conservative. But it was a lot of these kind of webzines. We do, 2,000 word think pieces on things. And I, use terms like the alt right and this kind of big tent idea of people going against the system. And there was just this moment with Trump where there was the potential to, in a way, kind of become a meme, I guess, is the best way. I mean, I leaned into it. And a lot of it I look back at and I cringe a bit. A lot of it I look back at, I think there were some good things. A lot of it I look back at and I think there were some really awful things. You talk about the hate kind of, look, race is it's everywhere. It's talked about endlessly by the mainstream media, by the Atlantic Monthly, by live streamers. It's obviously extremely important. And we do need to have a conversation about it. But that stereotype of it's all about resentment and hatred, and that can lead to violence, that stereotype isn't entirely untrue. I mean, if you look at someone like the Buffalo shooter or something like that, he was radicalized on 4chan during the pandemic, and he cut and pasted a bunch of memes, and it became this, basketball game of, I'm going to kill 10, and so the whites are up. Just horrible stuff.
And meanwhile,
The fact
people are
is,
probably
it can lead to that.
and people are when that kind of stuff comes out in the media, especially then, people are assuming like, oh, Richard should be happy about this. Right?
Exactly. And I don't want that. That makes me sick to think about it. And I also, but and it is unfair, obviously, but and it's not legally binding or anything. But at the same time, you do need to ask yourself, are you getting involved in something that actually does lead to someone doing something like this? And it's not most people, it's less than 1%. But is that 1% of the population of your readers going to hear what you're saying and think, oh, yes, I should go kill non-whites, so we'll be up by 10 this game, or you have to recognize that. And so I've also taken a bit of a view that in some ways, like, there needs to be layers to how you think about things. And in terms of everyday politics, I mean, this is what Destiny was saying when I first met him. It's like, I don't know if you're now a liberal cuck or whatever, a fascist or whatever. There's an outer layer of things that you have to address in the real world. Like, should we ban abortion? Should we have some more reasonable gun legislation? So what should we do in Ukraine? These are just kind of immediate things. And you can have some opinions on them that are, in a way, short-term, immediate stuff. I think it's more important because I still do want to change the world. I still do feel like civilization is degenerating, that we're headed to a very bad place. But that kind of work needs to take place at a different level. It's not going to take place on the level of, black crime, Hispanic immigrants or whatever. It's going to take place on a much deeper and much more spiritual level. And so I feel like my calling for my life is to focus there. And I have lots of opinions on contemporary stuff, and I probably am just pretty much of a centrist liberal when it comes to a lot of those things. But in terms of the deeper core of what I'm about, spiritual core, I do want to be radical as hell. And I do want to, in a way, shock people and try to get the world moving in a different direction. But it's kind of a very different tact. And I think it's kind of ironically more pragmatic to deal with spiritual matters like that.
Yo, we just hit 400,000 subscribers right here on the Clips channel. So if you want to help us out, click subscribe, get us to 500K. Yeah.